Hi everyone, this is Jan Manarite with Cancer ABCs, and we're doing our third video in our series of how did you work your doctor appointment, or how did you learn to work your doctor appointment? The reason is there's a lot of information on the internet, but whatever information we glean or we take in or we learn, we still have to figure out how to bring it into the doctor's appointment and talk it through with the doctor. Some days it seems easy, some days it seems hard. And I did this journey for a long time. This is Fred Barone from the Villages support group in Florida. And he's our guest today, our interviewee. And he's going to tell us some of the things he's learned in his story. But the reason for these videos is we think this is an important subject and we'd like to help you with it. So Fred Barone has been my friend and a fellow advocate for many years. He runs the Villages Prostate Cancer Education and Support Group in the Villages, Florida. I speak there almost every year in November, and we're working on a conference in October 30th, 2021. I know this video is going to be around for a lot longer than that. But Fred, welcome and thanks for giving us your story and some of your lessons on how to make a doctor's appointment work for you in your cancer journey. So take it away.
Okay, thank you, Jan. And yes, as Jan said, I'm Fred Barone. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2014 when I was 69. In my travels, I've had 3 biopsies, 2 MRIs, one being, and the last biopsy was a fusion biopsy with the MRI. Throughout the whole period, my Gleason score has been 3+3, and I've been on active surveillance the entire time.
So that's about 7 years, right?
About 7 years, yes. And when I have an appointment scheduled, I do some preparations beforehand. Some of the things I learned from this book. I hope you all can see that. That yep. is the writer is an MD, Archel Giorgio, and I got this book. The person that introduced me to this book, I have to make a comment about. His name was Dan Bard. He was a leader of our support group for over 10 years. And he's since passed on, I'm sorry to say. He battled this disease for over 20 years. And I learned a lot from Dan, and I realized how many people he touched, helping them in their journey on this disease. So we owe a lot to Dan here in the Villages.
Nod to Dan Bard, yeah, absolutely, and his wife Sally. Thanks, Fred.
Couple things I learned from this book. One, I prepare my questions ahead of time. I write them down, and I make 2 copies. I make one for me and one for the doctor. It's easy for somebody. It's easier, I found, if somebody has the written word to focus on than just hearing something. So that is work with my doctor. Typically, they'll give it back to me when they're done. They will not make it a part of their records. But I found writing down my questions ahead of time is very helpful. Remember, 2 copies is best.
I think the 2 copy comment is really interesting. I'd never heard that before, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
And one of the things that I relax going into a doctor's meeting is relax. Try to relax. Cancer is not a relaxing word. You're pretty tense when you hear it. I am fortunate. I've been with my urologist for 16 years, or 6 years, my medical oncologist for 5 years, and I address them on a first name basis. And if you have that type of relationship, it's very relaxing. If you can do it, have at it, but it won't work for everybody necessarily, because nothing in this disease or this journey works. There's no one size fits all. So I just throw that out. It has worked for me. Maybe it can work for you. It's up to you to try it. If you don't feel comfortable trying it, don't try it.
Would you
Okay.
say that the relationship with the doctor is kind of everything? Because I felt like that's something I learned. So if in your relationship you get to a first name basis, just, go for it. And it's
Well,
one of
yeah,
the
I
points in
think
the book. Yeah.
relationship is important. Let me backtrack a little bit. I mentioned the support group. Because of my involvement early on in my diagnosis with a support group, I was not a leader or facilitator at that time or anything like that. But that led me to change urologists. From what I learned in that support group and about relationships, that helped me to make a decision to change urologists. So
Yeah.
that I pass that on.
Yeah. It's never easy to change doctors, but we also had to do it. So I understand that. And we were grateful when we did it. It was never something we regretted. So.
Yeah. So the other thing in your meeting with your caregivers, if at all possible, take somebody with you. It may be your spouse, it may be your significant other, it may be a child, one of your children. If not, maybe a good friend or somebody in your support group. 2 ears and 2 eyes are better than one. And I know I've never had the experience. I've had my wife go with me, and we both came out understanding the same thing. But in some of our support group meetings, I've heard men say, I missed this and my wife picked it up, or I missed this and my partner picked it up. So it is important. Now,
So for men who are, let's say, widowed or divorced or single for whatever, and they don't have a partner or a spouse to bring with them, the idea of considering somebody in your support group or even your adult son or adult daughter is still a really good idea. So think outside the box, right?
yes, yes, yes. Now, I realize with the pandemic that many practices will not let you bring another person into the room. Ask your doctor if you can record the session. That way you can go home and you can listen to it with your partner or your friend or your son or whomever, and they may pick up something that you missed, or you may, on hearing it a second time, pick something up you missed the first time. So
Very true.
ask your doctor if you can do that. The other thing, let's talk about telehealth. Telehealth is something that has been spawned by the pandemic. There are some good things about it. There are some bad things about it. One of the good things is you can record the session and
Yeah.
you can go back and review it. Another good thing is you're in your comfort zone. You're in your home court. So you normally will feel much more comfortable in your home court. Somebody, and there are many of you that are out there that are on hormone therapy, and you may be experiencing some fatigue. Well, now you don't have to make that trip to the doctor's office. You can still stay relaxed in your own home. The primary cons is the doctor can't touch you. If you're looking for a DRE or a testicular examination, you can't do that with telehealth. So that is the con.
So if there's a need for any type of physical exam, that's the one downside. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So
I think it's been a surprise to both doctors and patients, in my experience, to notice that telehealth appointments were, some of the conversations were actually better. So I think that's been an interesting discovery as we're now coming out of the pandemic. So.
Okay. The other thing, don't leave that appointment until you're satisfied with the answers to your questions. That is extremely important. Don't leave unless you're satisfied. And if you have to get up and stand in front of that door, get up and stand in front of that door to prevent the doctor from leaving until you're satisfied.
Are you referencing the Joel Nowak shuffle, which was one of our
Yes.
videos?
Yes.
Well, just a nod to Joel Nowak. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's your life. It's your journey. It's your decision. So make sure. And if there are some things you don't understand, a lot of times there's medical jargon and I don't understand all the words, but when I get home, I look them up. And if the doctor doesn't explain them, again, you heard me say, sometimes you miss things. Go back, Google them, look them up, and you'll find a definition. And the other thing is, if you're involved with a support group, ask them what some of these words mean. I'm sure, no, I'm not sure, but chances are somebody has encountered that terminology sometime in the past.
That's not a bad idea. I think on this one, I would gravitate back to an expert source, because it is possible that you could get the wrong recommendation from a support group member. You know what I mean? So I think I would gravitate to Google on looking for definitions and look for a valid source. So
yeah, make sure you get all your medical records. I have all my PSAs from day one. Well, from when I was diagnosed to the present time. I have all my records for my biopsies and my MRIs. So make sure you have all your pertinent records.
Can I mention that there's two ways that I tell people to get their records, and to make it simple for them, because this whole journey is overwhelming sometimes. But one way is to, when you walk in for your appointment in the doctor's office, you talk to the receptionist, you tell her you'd like to have access to their online medical records, to their online portal, whatever they call it, electronic medical records. She'll set you up with the online access. And the second way is to actually ask the doctor when you're sitting in the appointment, and he can often give you paper copies. But the only one who has authority to give them to you is a doctor, and the only one that has authority to ask is a patient. So patient, doctor together is the right time to ask and get records.
Yes, yes. And I found it's much easier now with the portals, because
Me too.
if you ask for certain records, if he's taking notes, he can't give them to you right away because they're not always processed. So the portals are very important.
I agree.
Yep. So anyway, a little story. A little story. You just heard me say, don't leave that office until you're satisfied with the answers. But what about if you're satisfied? What if it's a quick situation? I know my urologist is very busy. Some appointments take time, some don't. But I was getting a PSA test one time, and I overheard my urologist talking to them. They're saying that he was up at 2:00 that morning in the hospital doing an emergency procedure. But the last time I had my consultation, since my diagnosis, when my PSA was over 4, it has come down, and it normally ranges 3.5 to 3.75, thereabouts. In my last reading, it went from 3.5 down to 3.1. I looked at that and I knew I was going to stay on active surveillance. My doctor looked at it and he knew I was going to stay on active surveillance, and he was fine with that. And I would have liked to talk to him about a lot of things that are going on in the field of prostate cancer treatment. But, you heard me say he was up at 2:00 one morning. So I respected his time, and I told him, look, there are people right now that need you more than I need you. Let's do the DRE, let's do the testicular, and let's move on. And he appreciated that, and we did it, and I was out, boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada boom, however that saying goes. But I respected his need for time, and rest assured, if my PSA would have gone from 3.5 to 4.5, I'd have been in there a heck of a lot longer.
I
So,
like that story because again, it's about the relationship with the doctor and to respect his time in that way and actually maybe give him some back. We know that doctors are often crunched on time and it's not always their fault for sure. But to give him some time back, it kind of allows you to ask for more time maybe later if you have an appointment where you do need it. So I like that. I like that story.
well, basically, that's my story. Not real long, but
No,
it
but
is what it is.
yeah, they're great lessons because again, it's one thing to do your research, but then the next step is if you can't bring it to the doctor's appointment, what good is it? If you can't
Yeah.
figure out how to converse and to, I mean, honestly, ask thoughtful questions. You don't want to go in saying, "Hey, I saw something on TV, honey, what was that thing?" And he says, "I don't know." And then you say, "Well, what's it?" You know, and you're going back and forth on something you saw on TV that you never wrote down. That is an example of how not to do your doctor's appointment. The doctor wants to help you and he can't because he doesn't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. So we're talking about making your doctor appointment work for you, for the cancer patient. That's our goal. So yeah.
And don't be afraid. Whatever's bothering you, write it down or ask. I remember you heard me mention Dan Bard. I remember him, I don't know how many times he would just say it. Don't go in there and don't say anything. Don't say nothing's bothering me because if you don't tell the doctor, he can't tell you anything to treat with.
Nobody goes home with your cancer except for you. So go home with the answers that you need to sleep at night and to, yeah, and to feel confident and satisfied, like you said, Fred. So, yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm going to say,
you're welcome.
yeah, thank you, Fred. Quick thank you to our supporters for this video, and that's Dendreon and Myovant Sciences. So I'm going to thank them for their generous support for the work of Cancer ABCs. And thanks, Fred. That's Fred Barone. He runs the Prostate Cancer Education and Support Group in the Villages, Florida. Oh, do you still have that URL, the website address? Do you have that close by?
Oh, yes.
You did that last time. Yeah. We want to send people to your group if they're your website.
Let me see
Put
if
up
I can get
a little closer. There we go.
villages,
Mhm.
pcg.weebly.com.
That is the website for Fred Barone and the Villages Prostate Cancer Education and Support Group. Thank you very much. It's the biggest
You're
support
welcome.
group in Florida, and I think it's definitely one of the best. So thank you, Fred.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.